Welcome students to another session in the series Digital Marketing. Today we will continue with our discussion on email marketing. The session plan for today is to understand what is the email marketing process, how one can manage data, how we should be designing our email copy for digital platform, and what are some of the email best practices that should be followed keeping in mind the guidelines and regulations. Let us first of all understand what is email marketing process. Now students, the entire process of coming up with email and using it as one of the forms of your digital marketing, one has to go through 4 distinct stages. The first starts with the data, followed by design, delivery, and finally discovery. So, in the first step of data, one needs to understand that before we begin with e-marketing, one has to procure a complete list of the subscribers. So, one has to create a subscriber list, or what we can understand as a compilation of email contacts. These are the people whom you would be contacting, the firm would be contacting through email. This list can be procured through various ways, offline as well as online. So, you can get in touch with the consumers at appropriate events, or you can get in touch with them through various website forms that they would be filling in, or the other kind of touch points, or even through the social media one can get in touch with the consumers and then can request them for their email contact IDs. Once you have the list of the email contacts, you put them in a order, in a list, and then try to mine them, try to go for some data mining techniques which will help you to give certain consumer insights that will help the firm in carrying out the segmentation and targeting exercise. Now you know that just like we do in case of marketing, there is a segment you identify which are the possible segments that exist in a market, and then you go ahead with targeting one of these segments. Similarly, for any digital marketing campaign, even for any email marketing campaign, one has to understand, are there any possible segments in the market and how these segments are to be further targeted. Now, when you have an understanding of identifiable segments as a firm or group of subscribers that can be approached, and these group of subscribers have similar defining features, then you can move ahead with your targeting efforts. Now, what can be some of the parameters that can be used by a digital firm or a firm in the digital marketing space in order to go for this segmentation and targeting exercise? So, first one can use demographic as a basis. As we have seen earlier in the overall marketing management course, the demographic as a basis refers to identifying your segment group on the basis of certain demographic elements like gender, education, culture, or even age of subscribers. The email content that you wish to target at a particular age group might not be applicable to others. Like for example, if you want to address your email and your the base or the target group has to be teenage audience, then any email which you are writing to the older recipients will be of no use to the firm. So, the first is one has to see whether the demographic element that you are using to segment your audience base is actually giving you that kind of subscriber base to which or to whom you want to connect with. Another basis that can be used by the firms in the email marketing effort is to use geography as a basis. Equally important these days is for us to understand the location of the subscriber. Again students, there is no point in connecting with the target users who are not based or who are not located at a place where the firm's business is located. So, location therefore becomes a very important part of your email marketing, and one has to take into account the location of the subscribers so that the firm can very easily connect with them, and the people who would be connecting with the firm in turn out of your target group would actually be based in a place where it would be easier for the firm to transact with them. Another basis that the firm can use is history. What do you mean by history? Now, whenever the subscribers they move on the net, or whatever data you have collected about your subscribers, that would give you a hint about their historical behavior in the form of their buying habits. Some other useful insights that can be garnered by the firm in this regard would also be helpful with respect to the future purchases, what they are usually interested in buying, what kind of orders have they been placing, what they intend to buy next, how they plan to go about the entire planning process, what is the quantity that they have bought in the past. Therefore, you can project what would be the possible quantity and the kind of product that they would be buying next, and so on and so forth. So, this also turns out to be a very healthy basis that can help the firm in going ahead with its segmentation and targeting exercise. Another important aspect here, students, is for us to understand that relationship that a target group or a subscriber group maintains with the firm is of crucial importance. It is not only valuable in terms of giving you a hint of the expected return on investment that a digital firm is going to get out of this email marketing effort, but also by maintaining good relationship, the firm can expect to leverage on its email marketing efforts in a much better manner, because it is always healthy for the firm to extend the relationship and do something to nurture the relationship only with those group of subscribers who are very active when it comes to responding to the emails and reading their emails on a regular basis. Customer lifecycle value also plays a very important role in this whole exercise. The subscriber list may have individuals who can be in different stages of their customer life cycle. Some of them probably would be very active on their email, whereas the others could be dormant. There can be another group of subscribers who are yet to make a initiative or yet to make a purchase. So, the communication with each of these subscriber groups have to be different. Like for example, if you find that there is a customer group who is usually not very active and who requires a different kind of a push before that base of consumer is going to respond to your email efforts, then it makes sense that you design a campaign or you design your email content in such a manner where you offer different kind of incentives and you communicate about various kind of special offers which the firm has, so that this dormant customer group can be re-engaged in the communication process with the firm. So, every base of the consumers has to be understood in terms of their life cycle stage in the whole journey. Once this is done, and on the basis of the appropriate segmentation variables, the firm has targeted and has made a decision to target a particular group of subscribers. Now one has to look into how you are going to manage your data. Now, this subscriber data is to be managed specifically with respect to three aspects. One, as a firm, you have to ensure that you clean your data regularly, you update your data regularly. What do you mean by cleaning the data? Those email IDs that have become inactive, that have been changed, that have not been in use for quite a while, or they are giving you bounce mails, should be eliminated, should be removed from the data, and any new emails and new email contacts that you have come across should be added to that list. So, complete pruning and purification of the data has to be done at regular intervals of time. Also, your segmentation and targeting exercise is not one time exercise. You have to continuously and consistently do the segmentation and targeting efforts, because what group of consumers is not a part of your email targeting list today can become a potential subscriber or can become a potential user of your firm and would be actively interested in engaging with your firm in future. So, this segmentation and targeting exercise should be carried out on a consistent and regular basis to explore new and new segments that come up, that emerge in the process, and also looking at the potential of these segments to be targeted by the firm in future. Always remember that it is not the quality of the data along with the quantity that has to be taken into account, and when you weigh the two, that is whether it is the quality of the data which is important or the volume of the data or the quantity of the data which is more important, it is the quality which should take precedence over the volume of the data. So, it is the quality that should be emphasized, though both are important, but it is the quality which is to be emphasized and not the quantity or the volume or the number of email contacts that you are dealing with. Coming to the next step of the process of email marketing, which is design. You have the list with you, you have created the segments, you have identified and zero down on the target subscriber group whom you want to concentrate your efforts on. Now you have to understand these clients. Why do you have to understand these clients? So that you can design your email according to the requirements of these clients, according to the psychographics and the other variables which you used at the time of targeting these subscribers. You also have to decide the content of the email copy according to the kind of client that you are dealing in. In some of the cases, you would decide about using the attachments or the images that would go along with your email depending on what kind of clients you are dealing with. What is their education level? What is their level of understanding? Are they interacting with the firm for the very first time, and so they are looking for more information in the content, or it should be designed which should be just giving them some interesting idea through the images and attachments. So, all this is based on understanding your clients well. Not only understanding your clients well, but also understanding the potential risks that may be involved when the company is interacting with these subscribers through the email marketing campaign. Now, what do we actually have to be concerned with? Now, students, we are talking about three different things here. Please understand, we are talking about a website, we are talking about a social network, and then we are trying to draw a difference between a website and social network from an email in terms of what is the zone, what is the level, and what is the spectrum at which we are dealing with the subscribers or any audience. Now, when you talk about a website, we need to understand that it is a public zone. Anyone can access any website, your firm website or any other firm's website. And so, usually the websites do not have an element of personalization. There is always a distance that the websites maintain between themselves and the users, and therefore it becomes usually difficult to target people, target individuals on a website. As against this, when we talk about a social network, we are talking about a social zone. Now, we have seen in the preceding sessions that users in a digital landscape, they are a part of communities. We are not talking about segments per se, we are not talking about anything else, but we are talking about the social networks where people are a part of a community. They are part of a community group, and therefore, This community is going to facilitate the communication which is going to happen between the marketeer and the target audience. There is a closer connection that one would find between or across the social networks, but not all the users that are connected with you are going to subscribe to your marketing messages. So, one has to decide that yes, this is a subscriber group, this is a group that is also active in terms of its communication within the group and the community, but then how responsive and how open this particular group is to my marketing messages, that is something which has to be understood. Now, let us see how an email is different. Now, when you compare a website with a social networking site with an email, you will find that email is much personal. It is a very, very personal zone. What comes to your inbox in your email is something very personal to you. You don't share your email IDs and your email passwords with everybody. People do not have access to your email. So, it's a user's personal account. It's a user's personal asset, and therefore the user is going to maintain a very, very close link through this email account with a marketeer. And marketeer, in a way, in turn is going to have this as a closest link or closest interface that it can have with its target audience. However, it is because of this private space that the marketeers have to remember to be very, very tactful in how they deal and how they present themselves to the users through the email messages, because it can at times be considered as intrusive, as something which is invasive or disruptive to the target audience or the person who is getting these email messages in a way. So, sometimes people do not appreciate them because of the invasive nature of the messages, but then it is the only way and the closest way in which the firm can have a communication directly and very closely with the members of its target audience. Let us come to how one can design an email copy. Now, we have seen that the designing is based on whom you are dealing with. So, what is the kind of the client? You have to understand the individual, the target audience. And when you start designing your copy, your body part, one has to understand that the subject line that you start with is very important. So, what you write as subject line in your email is of utmost value, because it is only when that line seems relevant to the recipient would open the mail and would be interested in reading the mail. If the line itself does not convey any value proposition or does not seem to be relevant enough to the target audience, it is very much likely that the audience will not be interested in opening or would not consider it to be relevant enough for him to read. The email body part should always have a message which is very clear and which conveys a specific call to action. As we have seen that this is the personal space of the target audience or target individual, therefore a lot of personalization is required. The mails which go in bulk often fail to engage the audience, but if you are addressing a person by name and there is a lot of personalized content that you are adding to the body copy, that goes a long way in generating engagement and invites the reader by these personal kind of efforts that one can make through the email marketing. It should be well structured, it should be well designed. It is always better to test your email copy in advance. There is no harm in doing this initial check with a small subset of recipients and wait for say few hours or a couple of days to get the response. Once you have checked the email with a sample set of recipients, then possibly you can improvise on that email depending on what kind of feedback you receive from them. And if you think that the response is not the desired one, that you can improvise on your mail and you can go for a corrective copy of the email, which then can be shared with a larger group of your target audience. To really ensure that you come up with an email, you develop an email which is getting delivered and which eventually gets opened and is read, you have to maintain a balance of text and imagery. As I was saying earlier also, only the inclusion of text in the mail usually makes it very monotonous. At the same time, only the images may not bring the focus to the content or may not be able to highlight the important content which probably can be highlighted through the text, through the words which would be there in the email. So, a proper balance of the text and the imagery in the mail is important. At the same time, students, one has to understand that the design, the template that you will be using should complement and should not compete with your audience in terms of their attention.